Greetings, everyone. It's Patrick Oborn, co-founder of Telarus. I'm joined by VP of Business Development UCAS, Cameron Olson for Telarus, with a very special meeting that we have with the head leadership of Dialpad, one of our most strategic UCAS providers in the portfolio. Today, we're joined by Craig Walker. He is the CEO of Dialpad. Just to give you a quick breakdown on Craig, he was also the previous founder of Grand Central Communications, which most people know as Google Voice, kind of a big deal. And prior to that, he ran Yahoo Voice as the Senior Director of VoIP at Yahoo. Craig, welcome to the call today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No, you're very welcome. We're also privileged to be joined by Dan O'Connell. He is the Dialpad CRO. Bringing in money to Dialpad is his thing. He's also the Chief Strategy Officer at Dialpad, which is really cool. Previously, he was the CEO of TalkIQ. That's a real-time speech recognition and natural language processing startup that Dialpad acquired back in May of 2018. Prior to TalkIQ, he had various sales leadership positions at Admiral and Google. Again, very seasoned, intelligent person, veteran of this industry. Dan, welcome to the call too, my friend.
Thanks for having me, Cameron, Patrick, in too kind of an intro.
No worries. Just want to make everyone aware of the quality of speaker that they're about to hear from today. And then last but not least, Cameron, the VP of Business Development, UCAS at Telarus. Thanks for being here, and thanks for moderating today's call, Cameron.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. So let's just get right to it. We've got some questions for you today, both Craig and Dan. The first question is revolves around this new world that we live in. The last 30 to 60 days, man, our world has really been turned upside down. How has this impacted Dialpad? And what are some of the changes you guys see coming down the pipe, or how have you adapted to the new world that the vast majority of people out there have encountered?
Yeah, good question. So it's interesting, when we were at Google doing Google Voice around, we left in 2010 to go start Dialpad, and the philosophy was always that work is becoming a thing you do, not a place you go, right? So we really wanted to build enterprise voice products for that future world, because we had seen using Gmail versus on-premise Exchange, just how much better that life was. And being able to be productive from anywhere on any device was just so much better. And the idea that you'd then have to drive to a building to sit at a desk to get your phone to ring just made no sense. We really, that was kind of part of our ethos when we started the company. So the last 2 months have pretty much been an accelerant on this trend that we thought was going to take, probably over the next 5 years, as everyone moved off of an on-prem system to a UCAS system, or even for a call center, move off-prem to a software-based, work from anywhere contact center. It really it's been like a demand shift of moving that forward, from a five-year, kind of relatively slow migration to instant. And the nice thing is we've been effectively built for that from day one. So we've been looking, we knew that it would happen, and now it's just accelerated. So our own company, we've been working from home since the end of February now, and we're probably going to stay at least until July. And so it's amazing that the productivity hasn't gone down at all. And we're, legitimately, 500 people worldwide. It's been really great just seeing that these tools really are delivering on the promise that, kind of the reason we built them in the first place.
So we find that right, you guys have a whole suite of tools, very expansive. And for the most part, up to this point, people were pretty accustomed to using phones and stuff in the business world to make phone calls. And this world has exploded with different forms of communication. Are you seeing that people are using your platform differently? Are they using more video collaboration? Do you have any sort of percentages, or kind of know what the differences have been in the last couple of months?
Yeah, we've definitely seen an increase in usage, right? There's a lot more collaboration. There's a lot more meetings. Our Uber conference product and the video in the Uber conference product and the screen sharing, that's been getting a lot more use since literally every meeting is a virtual meeting. So that for sure has driven up. But contact center and just PBX functionality of getting the business phone system completely, you know, exercised with no one in the office, and frankly, customers not even knowing that there's a difference. That's been probably the most rewarding thing. Like we have a customer in Boston called Broad Institute. They do a lot of medical research, and they're actually working on COVID stuff. And the ability for them to just instantly move the entire company to work from home and still be entirely productive. We got a note from their CIO saying, hey, the one thing we didn't have to worry about when this hit was how we were going to stay in touch in our business phone system. And that's just been super rewarding to see that, you know, the promise of it really, really taking place.
Yeah. The one thing I would add on that too is, and Craig, you know, hit the nail on the head as he talks about this as an accelerant of just the future that was going to happen is just happening faster. So you see usage increase across whether it's, you know, more calls, more video, more text, but I think also just mobile usage, which is interesting. We have mobile apps. So I think there's just the accelerant and the expectation. Look, I'm going to buy a piece of software. It might work on my desktop, but now I expect that same piece of software to work with the same functionality across my mobile devices, whether it's, you know, your tablet or your mobile device.
Yeah, I saw a report somewhere that they were saying that the biggest thing people are going to have to hurdle is the fact that we're not babysitting anymore. How do we know that people are productive, right? So the question was, well, how did you know people were productive before? Well, they had their butts in their seat. Well, people don't have butts in seats anymore, and it's forcing them to adopt kind of this new mentality of figuring out productivity and providing tools like video conferencing and audio conferencing and some of the things you have, I think, really, really help emphasize that. So you talked about 500 employees worldwide. Tell me about that. What does that look like? As Telarus, we're expanding internationally as well. Where are you guys at? What does your coverage look like for places like the UK?
Yeah, so we put an office in the UK, geez, probably about 9 months ago, maybe almost a year ago. It's in the West End of London. It's great. They're now obviously all working from home as well. But we've been really excited about the UK opportunity and the deals that have been coming from there. But you know, we have offices in Canada, we have offices in India, we have offices in Japan. We're putting folks in Australia now as well. And the ability, and again, weirdly, they're all working from home. Like one of the other interesting things about this phenomenon is it's not just, you know, it happened worldwide to every single business at the exact same time, which is like for anyone out selling UCaaS, every single business in the world just became a prospective customer. Like the idea of an objection being, I'm going to stay with my on-premise solution is no longer a valid objection, right? So like it couldn't be a better time to be out selling these types of tools. And I'd say, you know, from the beginning, when we left Google to build this, it was always about, hey, this is kind of the future normal. It's not we're adding mobility as an add-on to a in-office environment that's just kind of like bolted on and doesn't have all the native features, or you lose context when you're on a mobile phone. We've always built it as that as kind of the endpoint. So, you know, frankly, if I'm on my cell phone, you'll know from my desktop that I'm on that cell phone. You can still do all the functionality of record a call, transfer a call, hold a call, mute a call, turn it into a conference call, all those types of things, because the system is entirely aware all the time. So yeah, on the international aspect, it's really interesting because this clearly is not just a North American phenomenon. This is every single business in the world.
Fantastic. With it being every business in the world, and I'm sure, right, we see organizations like yours actually hold the fabric of our society together. I'm seeing some of the craziest video meetings. We're seeing weddings, we're seeing baby births, we're seeing bar mitzvahs, we're seeing, I mean, my wife takes a Zumba dance class, right? Almost every meeting that used to be held in person is now being held on video conferencing or some of these platforms. We're seeing some strain on that, right? We're testing out capacity. We're seeing some issues and some problems. Talk to us about kind of what you guys are seeing and what steps or whatever you're doing to help mitigate and making sure that the experience is good for everybody.
Yeah, I'd say and Dan, I'll let you jump in here in a second.
I'm just here for color commentary.
I'd say one of the most interesting things is all these businesses no longer have an IT person or a help desk you can go to when you're working from your house. So from a design and UX and UI perspective, you have to really focus on almost the consumerization of these enterprise products. So an end user can, provision themselves. They can troubleshoot things. They can set things up. They can use it however they need to use it without having the benefit of someone there looking over their shoulder, answering questions, and being able to, really set it up for them. So I think that's one of the differences of Dialpad over others is, we come from a consumer communications background. Like Google Voice, we had, 20 plus million users, and you just, there's certain things you have to do to make it easy, adaptable, not complicated, but still have all the power of, a really robust enterprise communication system. And then just like your architecture and how you were built, you got to be built in a way that can scale and spin up immediately. And that was, one of the great things of having a Google experience is if you're going to launch something at Google, it has to be able to handle, tens of millions of users, potentially hundreds of millions of users. And so having that built into our, kind of our core DNA has been really helpful.
Yeah, we also do some pretty interesting things on just auto scaling when it gets into server capacity. On that people tend to start meetings at the top of the bottom of the hour, and so being prepared for those types of things and being pretty smart about how we attack that. We've had no downtime, we've had no strain on the system, which is a testament, I think, to our engineering and our engineering and product teams on what we're building. But it's been fantastic to go through as, again, you see all of this acceleration and increase in usage and being able to be just as reliable, if not more reliable than you've ever been.
Fantastic. So you talk about this auto scaling, and it makes me think, hey, there's probably some other things that the Dialpad does that makes them unique and different, right? There's a lot of solutions out there. There's a lot of UCaaS opportunities or providers out there. What's something that Dialpad that makes you guys unique and different?
Yeah, we have just from a platform side, we have what we call our split cloud architecture. And what that means is you have, we use the Google Cloud Platform for all the brains, all the routing, all the rules, all the account, all the billing, all the rating, all the fraud and security, everything lives in the Google Cloud Platform. But then you have the media going through data centers around the world. So we have data centers in 4 in North America, 1 in South America, 2 in Europe, 1 in South Africa, 1 in Hong Kong, 1 in Sydney, and 2 in Japan. So you end up having the best of both worlds of highest quality voice by having the media down paired with local carriers at like kind of the terrestrial level, but unlimited scale and security and reliability by building in the Google Cloud for everything else. So it allows us, if we were to roll out, 500,000 seats in a day, we'd be able to do it. We wouldn't even like that was kind of a normal thing that happened when we were launching Google Voice. Like you'd go to lunch, you'd come back to be 100,000 more users. And you have to build it in a way that anticipates that and scales to that. And that's what we've been able to do.
Yeah, I think the other piece that I would add.
I want to talk about security, so keep that in the back of my mind. Okay. But go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I was going to say that the other piece that I would add is, and it's been interesting going through when Dialpad acquired the business that we were building 2 years ago, which was Talk IQ, is our features around voice intelligence, which is how do we take speech recognition and natural language processing. And speech recognition, if people, for those that might be watching and listening that don't know, would be taking audio, transcribing it to text, and then natural language processing is once you have that in a text format, how do you kind of understand what's happening within it? So identifying things like sentiment and moments. It's interesting coming into the telecommunications industry, which is, I always view kind of the phone and video as the pipes. And if you can start to understand these conversations in real time, then that opens up a whole host of opportunities for businesses. And that's something that we've made an incredible amount of investments in. We think that that's the future of, look, these conversations are the last offline data set. We can help businesses understand them in the moment. We can design features. We can build workflows that are incredibly impactful for how we think about the future of kind of UCaaS and CPaaS.
So talk to us about some case studies. That, I hear that's one of your, when I hear about Dialpad, that's like one of the first things that stands out, makes you super unique and different. Talk to me about some customers and some use cases that use those types of things.
Yeah, so MarketStar is a terrific partner for us out in Utah. So they do outsourced inside sales and support. And they leverage our products and leverage our voice intelligence platform for not only coaching, but understanding real-time sentiment of conversations and understanding key events and moments that are happening. So those are ways that businesses, again, can not only just go and onboard users quicker and faster to say, hey, instead of me actually listening to calls, kind of after the fact, I can actually coach through them in the moment. They leverage what we call our real-time recommendations, which we provide suggested answers to questions that come up. So if somebody's new on the phone, they're in a call center, they're getting asked about pricing or a refund, don't understand the process, they can leverage those opportunities and leverage those alerts to actually kind of guide them through the conversation in the moment in time, as opposed to having a manager have to go in kind of after the fact.
That's incredible. I mean, it seems like that's where our world needs to head, but we're very slow getting there. Thank you. So getting back to our security question, it does feel like the world ran home because of COVID-19 or the coronavirus, and everybody just kind of threw security out the window as they went. Right? Everybody works at home. It opens up everybody to susceptibility of issues and problems with security. Talk to us about how your platform's designed to help calm the nerves of the people that are going to sell it or want to sell.
Yeah. So there have been some obviously high-profile security incidents with others in the space, right? That I won't get into and beating up. But the way we built ours is, one, we use WebRTC as our underlying framework for this, and the benefit of that is, like, legitimately every 6 weeks when Google updates a new version of Chrome, we get the latest and greatest, and it gets pervasive, it gets spread across every single one of our users to the latest and greatest. So there's no requirement of downloading a new app or anything like that. You just generally get those benefits of whatever the latest Chrome security is. That's number one. Number two, we do a bunch of smart stuff. So we're using a very high security on encryption. We use AES 128 HMAC. I'm not the engineer who built it, but I've been told that is the best there is. And we just don't do silly things. Like, we don't sell user data. We don't have, Facebook integrations. We don't have installers that go around security alerts. And we keep all of the data relatively local. So those 14 data centers that I was mentioning to you, if you're in the US and you're calling the US, your data and your calls are going to stay in the US. If you're in the EU or the UK and you're calling in the EU and the UK, your calls are going to stay in that region and in those data centers. So, some of the challenges have been unencrypted calls going over to other countries that, doesn't make a lot of sense, or various application installers going around and hiding security alerts because it required a user to click a couple more buttons. We just don't do those types of things. So it's just been natively built that way. Again, the core engineering team that came with me to start the company all came from the Google Voice team, and is very high skilled caliber engineers that know how to build things at scale in a very secure way.
Fantastic. Sounds like you guys are on the forefront of technology. Things are designed and developed. You guys are ahead of the curve. What does UCaaS look like in 5, 10, 15 years from now? What is the future of UCaaS, and what does communications look like in the future?
Yeah, I think Dan was hinting to it. And when we were talking to artificial intelligence companies, and we talked to all of them, virtually everyone other than TalkIQ, which we ended up buying, had the concept of, hey, let me on your calls so I can get a recording of your call, and then I can transcribe it into text when it's over, and then you can go learn from it. And when I saw Dan and met his co-founders and saw a demo, they were really taking in real time, turning calls into text, being able to give sentiment on the call, being able to alert supervisors if there's issues, being able to coach the person in real time of how to make that a better call. And if I say and that was kind of like the light bulb moment of what is the future of business communications? And it should be much more than just having a high quality end-to-end circuit open that people can talk and hear each other clearly. I mean, that's basic table stakes. To me, it's like, how do you take the content of those conversations and make the business run better? How do I make my sales team more efficient? How do I make my support team more efficient? How do I have happier customers? And how do I get, just drive the insights out of all those conversations, which you can do with email, you can do with text, you can do with chat, but the most important conversations you're having is when you're closing a deal and you're talking to a customer. And that just disappears because it's spoken versus written. I think the future of communications is really getting those insights and the value out of it. And now that we have had 2 years of integrating them into our platform, we've probably put nearly 1 billion minutes through that training engine. So every minute or every hour of training is just more time making it get smarter and smarter, better and better, accurate and accurate. And we have a real nice head start on all of our competition doing that. So I think the future is much more than just better quality calls and lower prices. It's legitimately getting insights to make your business run better.
So if you're transcribing, you keep that data, does that mean that I can now go search kind of keywords and find conversations with certain things and go back and kind of dive in and dig into some of those things?
Yeah, so the interesting piece, and I talk about this as, both Craig and I had worked at Google in our past, is you basically have a Google search for your conversations. And so suddenly being able to quantify that data set and trends. And, in my past running sales organizations or support organizations, people are always asking like, hey, how often does this competitor come up? Or how often is this feature mentioned? Or, how often is price? And so now you can actually go back and literally quantify those data sets, and it removes arguments that happen on, sales teams tend to be fairly reactionary. If they hear about a competitor, they think that competitor is taking the world from you. But now you can come back to them and say, hey, over the course of this past month, over the thousands of calls, this competitor was mentioned, 16 times. And then you can actually say and understand the sentiment around those conversations to say, oh, they were mentioned, 16 times, and they were mentioned in either a positive or negative way. And suddenly that means that you're going to react to that data point probably a lot differently than just from the reaction that comes from the floor. I think just generally speaking. So
that sounds like a pretty expensive add-on. What is the price to add some of those features cost?
So it is so expensive, it's free in baked in. So one of the key things, and this is, when Dialpad made an offer to acquire the business, like we obviously went through like, hey, is this something that we want to do? Is this a team that we want to work with? And they stood out above in terms of, I think Craig and I view the world very similarly, which is important from just values and where does this industry go. And to us, it was really about, look, our belief is what we are building are going to be the foundation of the future. And we should get as many people to experience that at as low as cost as possible. And so we view it truly as a differentiator. We think we're on the bleeding edge when it gets into speech recognition and NLP. It's why we do it ourselves. We have a team, we invest in that. We don't use APIs. We beat in terms of accuracy of the transcription. We are literally industry leading. And we want to allow as many people as possible to experience that. So we bake it in across all 4 of our products and we give it away.
Yeah, and that was, I'll tell you, before we acquired Dan's company, we were working on a commercial deal, and it was going to be one of those things where, okay, if we didn't own the company, we were going to have to charge more for it because the licensing was going to be per minute, per whatever, and it would increase the cost. But then we realized if we acquired them, it would just be the cost of compute power to run the transcription and the NLP. There would be no licensing, there would be no per minute stuff. And once we kind of got our head around that and got the board support to acquire them, that really worked out. So, and they too were a modern platform built in Google Cloud. So it was really easy to put those two together. And yeah, and that's the beauty is now like we're seeing, what it looks like after you've run 1 billion minutes through the engine. And it's legitimately, let me tell you, it's legitimately better than when you ran 100 minutes through it. It's like, it's ridiculously accurate and it's super impactful. And I think it'll be weird 5 years from now, it'll seem weird to get off a business phone call and not have automatic notes or automatic follow-ups or automatic action items, or to get a list of, hey, that was a great call. What were the 10 questions that Dan asked me during that call? And I can filter by who asked and different types of things. And one of them is questions. It's pretty powerful when you're trying to get, remember what you talked about and what you had is your responsibility after a call.
That's great. Huge differentiator for you guys. I know that's something that really sets you apart from the rest of the pack. But if you're giving services away for free, how do you survive? What does the financials look like? I know that's a big question on a lot of people's minds as we go into this downturn in an economy. What do your financials look like, and thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, great. We have so we're funded by great investors. Google was our first investor. The co-founder of Android, Rich Miner's on our board from Google. Andreessen Horowitz led our Series B. Mark Andreessen is on our board. Will Griffith from Iconic just did our most recent round. So these are just like top tier investors. That said, the business still has to make sense. In the post WeWork world, you can't just burn cash. So we have really, really great gross margins, over 70% gross margins. We have a bunch of money in the bank. We have path to profitability. We're planning on going public in the next, year or two, assuming the world comes back to normal at some point. But no, we're on great financial footing. So we still have a ton of money that we raised in the bank, and we're not burning a whole lot. So it's really, and it's a really attractive market that, again, just got materially larger, 2 months ago.
Yeah, and we're coming up on just quarter end, and I think most people in this space kind of see it, but both short term, obviously this pandemic is terrible for a lot of people, but from a business, we're one of those places that short term it's good for us. We'll actually have one of our strongest quarters in company history coming up, and then longer term, as we think about it, this is obviously a very interesting, good thing for us. And we really like our position. We really like our differentiators, and we like this. We like the growth that we're seeing, and we think that and believe that that's really just going to accelerate over the course of the next year and beyond.
It's been fun to watch your guys' growth, and been fun to watch our partners start to pick up your guys' product and sell it. Some of the success stories we're seeing there. I'm going to pass it over to Patrick. He has some kind of cool things to share and how to get started with Dialpad and how to crush it with them. Go ahead, Patrick.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Cameron, and Dan and Craig. We just want to thank you guys for taking some time to talk to us and talk to our partners about the things that you're seeing. I was exceptionally gratified to see that you're going public. Let me know when that happens so I can be first in line to get some Dialpad stock. Tell us a little bit about some partner-facing enablement tools that you guys have created that are pretty unique in the business.
Yeah, I think that the best place to go to find anything that you need or get any of the resources that you need would just be, you can just go to dialpad.telarus.com. You guys know how to spell it. We'll put the web link up here. We're also launched we're basically giving away all of our products for 2-month free. So as we entered into this pandemic, wanted to be super helpful to the businesses that are impacted there. And so we call it a Stay Well campaign. And that's our way of actually just connecting with more people, helping them out in a trying time. Obviously, this has upended just normal routines in everybody's daily lives, but also just work routines. So we think we have a platform that can help people get through that, and people, we hope, will take advantage of that and use a piece of software that we think can provide a lot of utility and just be useful.
Fantastic. Well, you guys, thanks for being here. We're kind of coming up against the end of our time. But Dan, CRO, thanks for coming in and sharing a lot of great insight. And Craig, CEO of the company, you're running a great shop over there. We over here on the channel side of the business are just thrilled to work with you. You guys have been great, both on the technology side, but even better on the team side. Your channel is exceptionally well run. Ryan McKinsey takes great care of the Telarus partners under his care. And just to reiterate, dialpad.telarus.com is a place you can go and pull down some material. It's also a link that you can send your customers. Once you go to Telarus or dialpad.telarus.com, you'll see an actual Dialpad website show up. At the end, there's actually a word subagent. just delete that word subagent off and put your Telarus ID there at the end. And that will basically personalize that Dialpad page for you. So then you can take that link and put it in your newsletters, send it out to your existing customer base. Again, that very generous 2 free months is part of that. So thank you guys so much for that. And Cameron, thank you for hosting us today and getting a lot of great information out. So with that, everybody, take care from your friends at Telarus and Dialpad, and join us next time. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Yeah.